Ever wonder what happens when a broke loser with nothing left suddenly unlocks monster-level power? Lee Yi got his whole life torched for being born weak, and with parents gone, he is drowning in debt. On top of that, he is being treated like trash by the people who should have had his back. Then a real monster nearly ends him, and a shadow system wakes up inside, turning this E-rank nobody into a legit fighter, and now this weakling's about to make the entire world regret it. The story kicks off with the debt collectors who surround MC, whose name is Lee Yi, and coldly tell him that his parents are already dead, but that does not mean their debt disappears. According to these scumbags, a father's debt becomes the son's headache, so Lee Yi has to work his tail off and pay every last bit. Lee Yi cannot accept this because his parents die while working in the mines, which means he should be getting compensation instead of being buried under even more debt. But those guys acting like walking, talking trash bags do not care at all and start beating him without showing even a little mercy. Lee Yi lies there in terrible pain and wonders why weak people are never allowed to live in peace. One of the men tells him that if he manages to awaken his power, then maybe people like them can finally have some hope, because only one person out of thousands can actually awaken a special ability. Someone has to take the risk. Lee Yi's body keeps bleeding as he wonders if he is really going to die like this, and why he has to suffer so badly just because he is a weakling. In this world, the weak have no control over their own life or death. Then a terrifying monster appears and drives its hand straight through Lee Yi's body. The monster throws him onto the ground and gets ready to crush him under its foot, but suddenly something insane happens. Strange flames burst out from Lee Yi's body while mysterious data starts analyzing around him. His shadow system finally activates, and Lee Yi becomes one of those extremely rare people who awaken their power. The story then jumps back into the past when the interdimensional mining season is underway. Lee Yi explains that his everyday job is basically risking his life by wearing a special suit and entering another dimension to mine energy stones. The place is filled with deadly radiation, and out of thousands of people, only one may get lucky enough to awaken a special power. Still, the radiation is crazy dangerous, and nobody in their right mind would willingly wear such a suit and work in another world unless they desperately needed the money. His supervisor tells Lee Yi that business is doing pretty well this month, and if things continue like this, then Lee Yi can clear his parents' debt within 1 year. He even says that if Lee Yi keeps working for 5 years, he might save enough money to buy a tiny apartment. Lee Yi laughs and says he will definitely work hard, but inside he is calling these people completely heartless. He knows that the second his debt is cleared, he will leave this hellhole without wasting even 1 minute here. As for 5 years, the supervisor can forget it and work here himself. The workers load themselves into a truck and head toward another dimension. Along the way, some older workers talk about Lee Yi and explain what happened to him. 3 years earlier, his parents die in a mining accident, and instead of receiving compensation, Lee Yi gets slapped with even more debt. NG Corporation claims that his parents cause a loss of $1 million and puts the entire burden on their son. Another worker says the company sees Lee Yi as an easy target because he is weak and forces him into this crazy life and death job. Those words keep spinning around in Lee Yi's head. He realizes that sometimes people are not born weak at all. It is society and this messed up world that turns them into weaklings and then kicks them while they are down. Lee Yi does not say much, but clearly refuses to accept that label forever. After some time, the group reaches a cave and everyone climbs out of the truck. The supervisor tells them to gear up because it is time to start mining. Suddenly, the ground starts shaking and one worker drops a box. Some workers think an earthquake is happening, but the experienced miners immediately feel something is wrong because they have worked in different dimensions for years and have never seen an earthquake like this. They begin suspecting that a monster is causing the shaking and start saying that they should get the hell out of there. They have heard stories about ancient interdimensional humans who are far stronger than bug and beast clans and are unbelievably dangerous. Everyone starts freaking out, but the supervisor tells them to stop spreading. Nonsense, because this area is already cleared 3 years earlier by the awakened, and there should not be a single aberrant left before he can finish. Speaking a terrifying aberrant suddenly appears and casually kills him with one finger. To these monsters, the humans look nothing more than tiny insects. The remaining workers completely lose their nerve when they see their supervisor get wiped out so easily. More aberrants begin appearing, and everyone runs toward the truck for their lives, but the exit is still 10 kilometers away. The aberrants start slaughtering the workers, while Lee Yi runs for his life with one of them right behind him. He desperately wonders if he can actually escape when another worker comes rushing in and crashes straight into him. Lee flies away and gets injured while his teammates jump into the truck and take off without him. Lee can only scream as they leave him behind, but even the people inside the truck do not make it out. An aberrant drops down from above and attacks the vehicle, punching a hole through it and grabbing two people before dragging them outside. The truck flips over and catches fire. The explosion throws the nearby aberrants away, and some of them are burned to death. Lee watches the scene carefully and suddenly realizes something huge. These terrifying aberrants are actually afraid of fire. An aberrant charges at Lee, but he dodges the attack and quickly grabs a torch. Just as he expects, the creature backs away from the flames. Lee immediately tells the others that the aberrants are scared to death of fire, and fire is their weakness. For the first time, the workers see a real chance to survive. Lee remembers how 10 years earlier, a mysterious gate suddenly opens on Earth, and creatures from other dimensions pour into the world. Monsters and beasts invade humanity, while deadly radiation spreads everywhere, turning the world into a place where ordinary people have to risk everything just to survive. For Lee, this nightmare is only beginning. But now that his shadow system has awakened, he is finally ready to stop being the weak guy everyone can push around. People who successfully awaken their powers gain the ability to fight monsters. And after the appearance of advanced beings, humanity does not only gain the power to close the mysterious gates, but also enters a whole new era of discovering and developing energy sources. Sadly, ordinary people like Lee are nowhere near that level. They have no special power, no crazy strength, and barely any way to defend themselves. So surviving in this messed up world means using whatever resources they can find. Running away from monsters is not even easy, because ordinary humans simply cannot match their speed or power. Following Lee's plan, the remaining workers rush over and grab torches to keep the aberrants away. The flames work for a while, but everyone knows this is only a temporary fix, because the fire will eventually die out, and those monsters will come charging back. Lee suddenly remembers the storage room where they keep some petrol and realizes they can use it to block the entrance until the rescue team arrives. Everyone forms a circle and slowly backs toward the storage area while keeping their torches pointed at the aberrants. Once they reach the right spot, Lee tells one of his teammates to spill the petrol onto the ground. The worker knocks over a petrol drum, and the fuel spreads toward the approaching aberrants. The others immediately throw torches onto the petrol, and the whole area catches fire, burning one of the monsters alive. Using that opening, everyone rushes into the storage room inside the cave and finally gets a moment to breathe. One teammate thanks Lee because his plan literally saves their lives, and without him they would already be monster food. While they are inside, they notice a strange statue behind them. The workers remember finding this statue while mining a long time ago, and explain that their supervisor plans to sell it on the black market. Lee suddenly feels something strange when he looks at it and realizes that a communication sector is nearby, so they quickly contact it and ask for a rescue. The reply completely kills their mood because the rescue team says it will take at least 2 hours to reach them and they need to protect themselves until then. Everyone freaks out because 2 hours is way too long. Their suit batteries and health systems cannot last that long, so they shout at the rescue team to hurry up, but there is no response from the other side. The workers become desperate because nobody wants to die inside this cave while their wives and kids are waiting back home. Only about 1 hour of battery remains in their suits, while Lee's suit has already dropped to around 60%. He can only hope the rescue team somehow arrives before everything runs out. But things get even uglier when some teammates decide that someone has to be sacrificed if they want the others to survive. They choose an old worker and Lee as the unlucky targets. One man points his weapon directly at Lee and tells him that he already carries a huge debt, so his chances of living a normal life are basically trash anyway. He demands Lee hand over his suit battery because another person can survive with it. Lee gets seriously pissed and tries to fight back, but the man attacks him first. Pain shoots through Lee's arm and he drops to his knees. They begin removing Lee's suit and tell him that once he is exposed to the radiation, his power might awaken. If he gets lucky and actually awakens, he could become their savior. Lee secretly curses them and decides that if his power really awakens, these bastards will be the first people he takes down. Once the mask is removed from Lee's face, deadly radiation immediately starts hitting him and breathing becomes difficult. The others laugh and remind him that only one person among thousands gets a chance to awaken a superpower, yet Lee somehow thinks he will be that lucky guy. They pull the battery from his suit while Lee struggles to breathe and starts coughing badly. After stealing his battery, one of the men looks toward another worker. A young guy suddenly shoves two people aside and runs for his life. The others chase after him, but he manages to reach the truck and climb inside. He thinks that if he is going to die here, then none of them deserve to survive either, so he starts the truck. The truck contains the strange statue, and as the vehicle moves, the statue suddenly falls out and lands directly in front of Li Yi. At the same time, the young worker drives toward the exit and tries to escape. The others realize what he is about to do and desperately try to stop him because if he breaks through the fire barrier, the aberrants will pour inside and wipe out everyone. But nobody can stop the truck. It crashes straight through the fire entrance and completely destroys the barrier. The aberrants immediately rush through the opening and begin attacking the trapped workers. Panic explodes everywhere as the monsters finally get free access to them. Meanwhile, the strange statue lying in front of Li Yi suddenly begins laughing and activating on its own. Li Yi stares at it while barely able to breathe and feels like even this weird statue is mocking him for being weak. Just as the situation reaches its worst point, a terrifying aberrant suddenly appears in front of Li Yi and prepares to attack, leaving him trapped between deadly radiation, monsters, and the people who have already abandoned him. The aberrant grabs Li Yi by the head with one hand and lifts him straight off the ground while its other hand punches through his body. Blood covers Li Yi as his mind flashes back to the day his parents die, and he remembers how people treat him like complete trash after their death. Even his own relatives refuse to take him in because his parents leave behind a mountain of debt. So everyone simply sees Li Yi as a walking problem instead of a grieving son. Determined to find out what really happens to his parents, Li Yi starts investigating their deaths, but NG Corporation quickly finds out what he is doing. The company tells him that if he wants the truth, then he should hear it clearly, because according to them, his weak parents die after breaking company regulations. They refuse to give Li Yi any compensation and instead force him to repay the millions of dollars they claim his parents cost the company. One of the company men kicks Li Yi in the face and reminds him that he already warns him to quietly sign the compensation agreement and take the few $1,000s they offer. Li Yi refuses because he wants to know the truth, and that choice makes his situation even worse. The man tells him that from now on they will come every month to collect the debt with interest, and if Li Yi fails to pay on the 15th, then they will make his life even more miserable. They basically push him into becoming an interdimensional miner, because that dangerous job is one of the few ways he can earn enough money to keep up with the payments, even though every trip into another dimension can turn into a straight-up life and death situation. Back in the present, Li Yi lies on the ground covered in blood while the aberrant stands over him. He wonders who decides that weakling people deserve to die like this, and why the world always treats them as disposable. Just when everything seems completely hopeless, the mysterious statue starts speaking to him. The statue tells Li Yi that it believes he can unlock his hidden potential, but Li Yi sees the whole thing as nothing more than some pointless struggle before death. He admits that he knows he is weak, but then looks at the statue and mocks it for being nothing more than a useless chunk of stone that the monster can crush like garbage. The statue calmly tells him that right now it is the only thing capable of saving his life and asks Li Yi to hand over control of his body. Li Yi refuses despite the insane pain because he would rather die than let some ugly, mysterious thing take control of him. He has already spent his whole life being pushed around and refuses to become someone else's puppet now. The statue suddenly starts laughing like crazy. Before the aberrant can completely crush Li Yi under its foot, the statue shoots into his body and disappears inside him. The shadow system instantly activates and a strange power spreads through Li Yi. The aberrant has absolutely no idea what is happening and suddenly drops Li Yi to the ground. The statue completely merges with Li Yi while the aberrant that previously crushed it steps forward and stomps down again. But this time everything changes. Li Yi's appearance transforms completely, and his body rapidly heals from the brutal injuries. A powerful set of dark armor forms around him, while a terrifying energy burns through his body. Another aberrant charges at Li Yi and attacks at full speed, but the old Li Yi is gone. He casually raises his power and releases his strange flames, burning the aberrant down with shocking ease. The monster that moments ago looks unstoppable gets wiped out like it is nothing. Li Yi then turns toward the workers who betray him earlier and steal his suit battery while leaving him to die. They panic the second they see his new power and start screaming that they will report him. Li Yi does not care and moves against them while the statue continues speaking inside his mind. The statue wants to know what Li Yi plans to do if it gives complete control of his body back to him. Meanwhile, his former teammates drop to their knees and beg for their lives. They apologize and claim they never really want to hurt Li Yi. They insist they are only trying to survive and say that if they do not sacrifice Li Yi, then they might never have a chance to escape this nightmare. Li Yi listens to their excuses but remembers exactly what they do to him when he is helpless. They take his battery, expose him to deadly radiation, and leave him as bait for the aberrants. Now the tables have completely turned. The guy everyone calls weak suddenly becomes the strongest person in the entire cave, and the people who abandon him finally realize that they seriously messed with the wrong man. The shadow system continues running inside Li Yi while the mysterious statue waits to see what he will do next. Li Yi stands there in his new armor with his wounds completely healed and flames burning around him, finally breaking free from the life where everyone else decides his fate. After years of being treated like a worthless burden, Li Yi finally gets the power to fight back, and this time he has no intention of letting anyone control him again. Li Yi's former teammates keep trying to convince him that they are sorry and that they only act that way because they want to survive, but Li Yi is done listening to their excuses. He uses his shadow power to remove their masks, and immediately the deadly radiation starts hitting them directly. The two men begin coughing and vomiting blood as their bodies struggle against the radiation, but Li Yi decides not to finish them off. He leaves one of the men alive and takes the masks toward two other teammates who never betray him. When those two see Li Yi walking toward them, they become seriously scared to death because they have no idea what he plans to do. But Li Yi does not attack them. Instead, he gives them the spare batteries so they can keep their suits running. They never turn against him, so Li Yi has no reason to punish them. After that, Li Yi heads back toward the entrance of the storage room because he wants to deal with the remaining aberrants. The mysterious shadow inside him warns that he is going to get himself killed because he still refuses to hand over control of his body. Li Yi tells the shadow to shut it because he does not need anyone giving him orders. The shadow laughs and says it wants to see whether Li Yi can stay this confident when he is standing right on the edge of death. Li Yi steps outside the cave and instantly realizes that the situation is way worse than he expects. A huge number of aberrants are waiting outside, and the sight is enough to make even a normal awakened fighter panic. The Titan Shadow tells Li Yi that he has two choices: either give it control of his body or deal with this nightmare by himself. It mocks him by saying that his legs are probably already shaking, and without its power, he is basically nothing. Li Yi still refuses to surrender control. An aberrant suddenly attacks him, and Li Yi jumps into the air to dodge it. Another creature rushes in from behind and tries to attack him with its mouth, but Li Yi quickly shifts to the side and avoids it. He is blown away because his reflexes and speed feel way faster than before. His body is clearly becoming stronger after the awakening. Another aberrant charges straight at him, but this time Li Yi does not run. He gathers shadow energy into his fist and throws a brutal punch that sends the creature flying backward. The Titan Shadow keeps teasing him while Li Yi looks at his own hand in disbelief. His strength increases so much that he can barely understand how his power suddenly becomes this insane. Li Yi realizes that fighting these monsters with his bare hands might still take too long, so he decides to create a weapon using his shadow power. Dark energy gathers in his hand and forms a sharp shadow dagger. The moment another aberrant attacks, Li Yi rushes forward and swings the blade straight through it, cutting the monster in half. That moment finally makes Li Yi understand that he is no longer some helpless miner. He has awakened his power and officially becomes an awakened. His body, speed, reflexes, and strength are all completely different now, and he can actually kill these terrifying creatures by himself. Two more aberrants charge toward him together. Li Yi gets ready to fight them, but before he can move, another monster attacks from behind and scratches his shoulder. Li Yi instantly spins around, slices through its neck, and takes its head clean off. Without wasting even a second, he turns toward the others and cuts their heads off one after another. In a ridiculously short time, Li Yi wipes out every aberrant around him. The same creatures that previously make humans look like insects are now nothing more than targets for his shadow blade. Li Yi becomes so excited that he starts laughing loudly and finally drops onto the ground after realizing he actually survives the battle. A notification appears in front of him confirming that he is currently in the awakening stage because he has just awakened his power. Li Yi has finally crossed the line from ordinary human to awakened fighter, and his entire life is about to change. Sometime later, Li Yi is shown lying unconscious inside a hospital room. Doctors and nurses stand nearby and discuss his condition because, strangely enough, his body shows no injuries and there is no sign of any illness, yet he still refuses to wake up. The doctor explains that this condition is related to ascenders, and that Li Yi's body may be going through a major transformation after awakening his power. While everyone waits for him to regain consciousness, Li Yi remains completely still, unaware that the power inside him has already changed his fate. The weakling miner who once struggles just to survive is now an awakened fighter with a mysterious shadow system, and once he opens his eyes again, the world will no longer be able to treat him like a powerless nobody. The doctor explains that Li Yi being unconscious is completely normal because his stamina is totally drained and his body needs time to adjust to his new level after awakening. The nurse wonders if Li Yi is really an ascender and asks what rank he might have, but even the doctor has no clue yet. He says they can only find out once Li Yi wakes up, so for now they should leave him alone and check the other patients. The nurse is already totally impressed by Li Yi's handsome face and keeps praising his looks before walking out. The moment she leaves, Titan Shadow appears and looks seriously pissed. Li Yi is only an E-rank human, which makes absolutely no sense to Titan Shadow. With his status and power, Li Yi should at least be S rank, A rank, or minimum B rank after awakening. Instead, this weakling little guy somehow lands at the bottom with an E rank. Still, Titan Shadow admits that Li Yi activating the shadow system and reaching the first shadow bumper on his very first attempt is actually pretty interesting. The talent is there, but Titan Shadow thinks it is a damn shame because an E-rank human should never be able to handle his massive power. Li Yi finally wakes up and immediately sees Titan Shadow standing in front of him. He asks who this weird guy is and why he keeps following him everywhere. Titan Shadow gets seriously offended because Li Yi is already an E-rank weakling, and now he is not even showing proper respect. Titan Shadow proudly introduces himself as one of the ancient Supreme Entropy Destroyers and a ruler from an ancient realm. He orders Li Yi to surrender his body to him and promises a huge reward once he takes back his throne from the traitors of his clan. Li Yi secretly thinks that he has never heard of this so-called ancient Supreme Entropy before, and wonders why he would ever hand his body over to something that looks like a giant cockroach. There is absolutely no way he is doing that. The problem is Titan Shadow can hear Li Yi's thoughts too. He immediately explodes with anger and demands to know how this weakling human has the guts to call him a cockroach. He orders Li Yi to stop talking nonsense and hand over his body. Li Yi starts thinking even more weird stuff and wonders why Titan Shadow wants his body so badly. Maybe this thing is some kind of evil spirit trying to possess him, or maybe it is obsessed with his good looks. Titan Shadow also seems mentally unstable, so Li Yi decides that ignoring him is probably the smartest move. Li Yi even starts wondering about Titan Shadow's gender, and keeps going down a completely random train of thought. Titan Shadow finally loses his patience and asks what kind of useless nonsense is running through Li Yi's head. He grabs Li Yi by the shirt and complains that he cannot believe he chooses such an E-rank trash human. If the situation is not so serious, he says he would rather choose an old dog than this deadweight guy. Titan Shadow then throws Li Yi through a mysterious gate and tells him he gets exactly 3 days. If Li Yi cannot reach D rank within those 3 days, Titan Shadow will completely destroy him. Li Yi lands on the other side and immediately realizes that this place looks nothing like a hospital. Titan Shadow explains that this is an E-rank insect nest inside a gate, leading to another world, and Li Yi's trial starts right now. Every member of the Sky Beast clan must complete this kind of trial after reaching adulthood. Li Yi looks ahead and sees a huge insect-like creature moving toward him. He pulls out his Shadow Blade and realizes that Titan Shadow has basically thrown him into a survival test. A shield-arm beetle stands in front of him and looks seriously tough. Titan Shadow tells Li Yi that he has already given him some of his knowledge and that Li Yi will slowly learn how to use it. The beetle suddenly charges at insane speed. Li Yi barely reacts before the monster reaches him and he becomes shocked by how fast it is. He jumps over it and tries to strike its back with his Shadow Blade, but the attack does absolutely nothing. The beetle is ridiculously tough and does not even get a scratch. Instead, the beetle swings one of its claws and smashes Li Yi backward. Titan Shadow immediately calls him dead weight and starts mocking him. Li Yi gets pissed and charges back into the fight, basically telling Titan Shadow to shut up because he is the one doing the fighting. Titan Shadow keeps his arrogant attitude and tells Li Yi that when he gets beaten, he better not come crying and begging for help. Li Yi unleashes attack after attack with his Shadow Blade, but the beetle keeps tanking everything like it is nothing. The monster suddenly counterattacks and sends Li Yi flying across the area. He crashes hard into a wall and blood spills from his mouth. A strange green liquid also splashes across his body. Titan Shadow tells him to stop acting dead weight and get back on his feet. Li Yi notices the green liquid and quickly realizes that it is actually the beetle's blood. That means the creature can bleed, which means it must have some kind of weakness. Li Yi starts carefully studying the monster instead of blindly attacking it. Just as he begins searching for its weak point,